So just ignore that I'm flagged for PvP. I accidentally flew by Wintergrasp and got flagged for PvP for a moment. Ignore that. So, getting to this is a little complicated. Basically, you're just gonna have to try and find your way underground. The Pit of Narjun. You'll notice a lot of, Nerubians around here. Can I just say, I'm really hoping that what we're going to be getting in War Within is actually what could have been here. So. You have made a fatal mistake, mortal. There is no escape.
I need to target something first.
Betrayers, the day of reckoning comes, and with it comes your end. See then if your Lich King saves you from the Ancient One's judgment. Now you die.
So you'll notice 2 dungeons here. This is the first one, Azjol-Nerub, which is part 1, and then part 2 will be over there. Now, story-wise, the end of the first one would flow directly into the second one, but fortunately they actually provide an exit for us to come out of and then make our way back over here if we want, and then do it afterwards. So, we'll talk to Killix the Unraveler here.
Be wary, Goblin. This is no place for the meek. We are in the midst of a civil war, at the heart of this world, the last living members of my species defend themselves against total annihilation. The Lich King seeks to rule the kingdom of Azjol-Nerub at any cost. Those that do not acquiesce are branded enemies of the Scourge and marked for death. In Arthas, we both have an enemy.
The Lich King, not Arthas.
Join our cause and rid this place of the taint of Anub'arak. Let Anub'arak himself hear the anguish of their death cries.
So that's a quest for this area here. However, he's actually going to have some separate quests for us here in Azjol-Nerub. Actually, no, this is a different one. This is Reclaimer Azak. So, before we talk to him, there's a couple things I want to talk about. First, let's read the thing here. Azjol-Nerub was an empire of great strength when the Lich King arrived in Northrend. Despite ferocious resistance, however, Scourge forces managed to overtake the subterranean kingdom and slaughter its inhabitants, the Nerubians. Scarred by years of war and abandonment, this vast domain is now occupied on 2 fronts. Not sure what it's saying I first hit on, unless it's referring to the second boss, which I guess it could be. I'll talk about that in a moment. Anyways, so how many of you actually know that behind the scenes, the developers at Blizzard wanted to do something really, really cool with Azjol-Nerub? As in, like, turn it into an entire zone and even, like, a full raid and everything. Like, just really do a whole bunch with the kingdom of Azjol-Nerub as a full-on zone, you know? They had all these really cool ideas of what they wanted to do with the area and, like, the architecture and just, like, really delve into, like, what Azjol-Nerub was back then as a full kingdom. Now, a lot of this, of course, also has to do with the lore of the War of the Spider from way, way back, and this also goes back to the ties that the Nerubians have to the old gods, and in particular, a certain old god here in Northrend. But, well, that's something we can talk about when we get to the next dungeon. So, before we get to the first boss, let's talk to Azak here.
I hear footsteps. Be on your guard.
I envy you in a way, little goblin. You are so fortunate as to bear witness to the first steps of the rebirth of the mighty empire of Azjol-Nerub. Correct Crickthir, guardian of the gates to Azjol-Nerub, was not a traitor. He fell in the War of the Spider, defending our home from the Scourge. As per his station, he was in possession of the key to the Hidden Empire. I'd like you to retrieve it, so it may be returned to its people. Throughout Azjol-Nerub, the Scourge Nerubians carefully nurture eggs that will soon hatch, providing the Nerubian young to slaughter and raise. The eggs have been tainted with foul magics. Our only recourse is to dispose of them. Anub'arak, the traitor king, makes his home in the once proud kingdom of Azjol-Nerub. He has twisted and perverted our homeland into the wretched squalor it is today. He rules over an army of undead Nerubians who have pledged themselves to serving the Lich King. Bring an end to his reign.
I'll talk more about Anub'arak when we reach him. So this dungeon is currently in the rotation of time-walking dungeons for Wrath. So let's just say I've actually been doing this dungeon quite a bit recently when time-walking has come up. So this room, oh boy, this room. If you pull everything in this room at once, even in time-walking, it can get a little spicy. So that is Crickthir the Gatewatcher. The gates of Azjol-Nerub stood unchallenged for centuries until the arrival of the Lich King. In mockery of Crickthir's inability to protect his home, the Nerubian was raised into undeath and forced to protect the very gates he failed to guard successfully in life. Because, of course, the Lich King has a sense of humor, and just finds those ideas quite amusing. So we need to, of course, destroy these eggs. Squish, squish these eggs. Squish, 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 squish.
I need to get closer.
This kingdom belongs to the Scourge. Only the dead may enter.
So, he can summon Watchers to help him out. 3 different ones in particular.
My pets.
And he summons a bunch of little swarmers to attack us. Which are, yeah. He can curse us with the Curse of Fatigue, doing shadow damage and slowing us. And he's got Mind Flay. So yeah. This can get a little nasty if everything gets pulled. And I imagine back in the day on Heroic, it was pretty rough.
In a time, my pets.
And you can see he just keeps summoning them. So this room can get filled so fast.
Lost.
And he says, I should be grateful, but I long ago lost the capacity. So, then, we enter. In a way, we are entering Azjol-Nerub from right here. But this is actually the lair of someone else for quite some time. That thing right there. Now, you guys know how much I absolutely hate spiders. Oh boy. You'll also notice those things there. So basically, when you enter this room, something starts. And there's actually an achievement here that's kind of tied to it. So let me read the lore on this giant spider boss so you can understand what's going on here. During the fall of Azjol-Nerub, Nerubian viziers released a single spider that would one day grow to challenge the unyielding forces of the Lich King. Hadronox was instilled with a desire to avenge the fallen and reclaim its home from any that dare threaten it. That is a spider that was made specifically to gorge upon and, I guess, basically get stronger against the Scourge and the undead. They made it have an appetite for the undead so it could be able to fight them, kill them, eat them, and just keep growing stronger. So basically this spider has been here for a very long time, gorging on the undead and the Scourge, so it could be like the ultimate weapon against the Scourge army. That's why it's still here, that's why it's that huge, and that's why it's supposed to be that strong. Excuse me. Now, you will often see players immediately jump off this bridge and make their way over here to this platform, because then the spider will make his way up here and that starts the fight. But what's happening right now is that there's actually a timer going off right now, because you'll notice these gates here where these Anub'arak are just like constantly coming out. They're just constantly exiting out of there, right? Well, eventually, that spider will make its way up here and seal those. Now, there's an achievement, because you'll notice it's at 1% health. But that will dramatically change. And I think it might even start also when you pull this trash, I think. So, in terms of the fight, it poisons all players within 25 yards with leech poison. It has an acid cloud. It will do web grab, which will pull them towards him. And it will also pierce a player, reducing their armor for the remainder of the fight by 50%.
The gate has been reached. Quickly, divert forces to deal with these invaders.
So yeah, more of them will come out to fight us, and you'll notice it says that Hadronox moves up the tunnel, because that basically triggers that. More of these things will come out on behalf of the Lich King, but they, of course, are what Hadronox is here to fight against. So again, once we take those out, you'll notice Hadronox is moving up here even faster. Because again, the entire idea is that you're trying to take on Hadronox and defeat him before he then moves up here while gorging on all these things to basically get strength back. I'm just kind of showing this off because I never get to see this. Immediately in time walking, people will just immediately rush for the boss and just kill it right away, even with all these things around. And keep in mind that what Hadronox also will want to do is just go over there and seal those. Then it will fight us. Now, that was a little... As you guys can imagine, I'm not too fond of that because of my arachnophobia. Now, the Nerubians don't really bother me. They don't trigger me, not really. Like, when I see, our Nerubian friend earlier, or our Anub'arak, that doesn't bother me. All this, though, with the webbing and Hadronox and all that, it does creep me out. It doesn't, like, seriously trigger it, but, yeah. So you'll notice that we're actually kind of, like, walking, I guess, like, on acid on this web and such, because this is where Hadronox has been for a long time. You can also see a lot of this other stuff. You can see some of this architecture here. These are little glimpses and snippets of what they wanted to do. And we're actually going to get to have a glimpse of it, though it's honestly going to be a blink and you miss it type of scenario here when it comes to that. I'm going to go ahead and do this just because, yeah, it triggers all those things. By the way, you'll also notice the piles of bones here. Just to give you an idea of what Hadronox has been devouring on all this time. So then we progress, but we do so by dropping through here. Now, this is going to be the one time I get to show you guys a glimpse of what they were wanting to do in terms of using Azjol-Nerub as a zone and like other stuff like a raid and such. So it's going to be as I'm falling through here. So again, it's a blink and you miss it scenario here. So here we go. There we go. That was it. Hope you enjoyed that. Oh my gosh, there's an elder in here? That's hilarious. That's part of the lunar thing that's going on right now. I did not realize there was an actual elder in here. That's funny. So you drop down here, and then you kind of now make your way down over here. Again, you'll notice little glimpses of the architecture here of Azjol-Nerub. It really is... like, the ideas they had were really cool. And it's a shame they never got to do it. But when they announced A War Within and they announced Azj-Kahet, that Azj-Kahet will be a zone we get to go to, and that they also tease. Ian actually indicated that the first raid we're going to be doing in War Within is going to be in Azj-Kahet as like a Nerubian raid. You know, a raid where we take on the Nerubians. Oh, that makes me so excited, because it makes me feel like they're finally going to get to do what they wanted to do with Azjol-Nerub here in Wrath and never got to do. So, let's talk about our old buddy, Anub'arak. The fates of Azjol-Nerub and Anub'arak have long been intertwined. In life, he was the Empire's king. In death, he was its conqueror. Charged by the Lich King to protect his old empire once more, the traitor king stands vigilant against any that threaten his kingdom. So I'll talk about the fight in a moment, but this is a situation where, when this first was out, let's just say that a number of people were disappointed because, well, this is Anub'arak. We met him and played as him in Warcraft 3. This is a name from Warcraft 3 that many of us know and are like, okay, this is Anub'arak, he's cool and such, you know? And then we encounter him in this dungeon, and, well, let's just say he's not very strong here. Now, based on what we know later, it's actually probably clear that he was actually holding back here. Now, the thing is to keep in mind that we actually kill him here. We also rip off a piece of his carapace to go turn in the quest. But the thing we have to remember, and this is something I've also tried to help emphasize, is that these enemies can get taken down and brought back at will by the Lich King, because he can do that. That's how he was able to bring back the entirety of Noxtramas back for Wrath, because the Lich King just raised them all back and was like, alright, you're all back up. And that's what he does with Anub'arak. We kill him here, and then he gets to come back. Now, this is nothing new. They have a tendency to use a boss in a dungeon, and then they'll bring it back again for a raid, or for another raid, or whatever. But we get to fight him again in the Trial of the Crusader. Now, in that raid, he's a much stronger version of himself. He's as strong as ever, and he's a pretty great, tough fight, which is awesome, you know? Because it kind of redeems the state he's in here. This fight is a little annoying, but it's not too tough. You know? And it's just like, you usually want to see certain characters that you know are strong to actually be strong. Now I'm going to let these guys attack me for a moment, just because there's a debuff that I think they do. They're just kind of funny. But really, yeah, this is one of those, okay, this is it. Drain powers, damage reduced. So, as they drain my power, I get smaller. So I can get really small if I just let them keep stacking it on me. I just think that's funny and amusing. So anyways, yeah. He's disappointing here, but at least he's redeemed in the raid as a raid boss. So when it comes to the fight, at certain points in the fight when it comes to his health, he will do this thing called Submerge, where he will go underground, and he'll do this thing where he will send a spike up through the floor, doing damage and knocking you up into the air. He'll also do Pound, which does damage and stuns. He's got Leeching Swarm, and he's got Carrion Beetles. Also, while he's submerged, Trash will show up and attack us during the encounter. Now, I don't think it's actually going... I don't know how it's going to work here, but in Time Walking, we have to do this a number of times, and it gets a little annoying because it just drags the fight out.
Eternal agony awaits you!
So that's Pound. There's
Pestilence
Swarm.
upon you! Now, my friend, I shall feast on their flesh.
So yeah, this is Submerge. So it'll be 60 seconds. So yeah, you'll see these assassins, these other things will show up. And then he does this. This is Impale. Now that's about a 5-second cast, but you'd be surprised how many players will just simply stand here and get hit by it. And it's so easy to dodge and avoid, and yet some people will just simply stand here and get hit by it when you could just you know, move out of the way. And there you go. But people will still get hit by it. And I'm just like, why don't you just move out of the way? It's just rather amusing to me. But having to do this submerge phase over and over, especially in time walking, just gets kind of annoying, you know?
I would be free of him.
Now that's something that's interesting that he says. I never thought I would be free of him. Which is funny because he wasn't. We kill him here. We take his broken husk to turn him in for the quest, and then he just gets brought back by the Lich King like, alright, you're mine again. And you're even stronger now because you're going to be a raid boss.
Has Krathir's spirit been released from the curse of undeath? And what of the talisman? Just as I suspected, most of the Empire has remained closed off since Krathir's final stand. Perhaps my people have already secured the depths and merely await release. Perhaps the Faceless Ones rest behind closed doors. Only time will tell. The exposed upper reaches of Azjol-Nerub must first be cleansed of Arthas' taint.
The Lich King's taint.
Oh, do not worry, Goblin. The eggs they found were but a fraction of our hidden stores within Azjol-Nerub. Our mighty kingdom shall be reborn. Is it done? Has the traitor king finally met his end? It is done! Your name shall be recorded in the extensive history of our people.
Yeah, it's actually not done, because we will see Anub'arak once again. So as I mentioned, they all actually provide a bit of an exit here for the dungeon, where we can just exit out here and make our way back to the area we were at for the entrance of the dungeon to just go ahead and head on over to the entrance of the other dungeon. So, yeah, we're kind of heading back up towards that entrance, but in reality and lore, what we then do is like, okay, we took out Anub'arak, who is basically guarding us from getting into the lower area. Except now that he's dead, for now anyways, we can now head down even further into the true depths of Azjol-Nerub. So you just kind of like, it is a little tricky to be like, okay, where do I go to get back? And you just kind of go over here. And there it is. There is Azjol-Nerub. So then we go back over here and we can now make our way down over here. And when we return, we will be heading even further down into the depths of Azjol-Nerub when we enter
On Kahet, the Old Kingdom.
Stay tuned.